It's being called the wedding of the decade, and it hasn't even happened yet. This Saturday, Chelsea Clinton, the former first daughter, will marry Mark Mizvinsky. The ceremony and reception will be held at Astor Courts, an estate in upstate New York. And there are reports the budget for this wedding is between $2 and $5 million. The guest list includes Oprah, Barbra Streisand, and Steven Spielberg, just to name a few. Doug Wead is a presidential historian, and he's also written a book called All the President's Children. Right now, Doug is live in Washington with his reaction to Chelsea's big day. Good morning, Doug.
Good morning, Jennifer.
You have an interesting opinion on why so many people are fascinated by this upcoming wedding. Is it because Chelsea grew up in the public eye and endured so much there?
I think that's part of it. It's she's the ugly duckling that became the beautiful swan. I mean, she was the source of ridicule on Saturday Night Live and the butt of partisan jokes. She was 12 years old, very vulnerable. And now she's having the last laugh. She's drop dead gorgeous, and she's getting married, and she never even deigned to respond to any of the type of abuse that she took. So it's the comeback kid of the comeback kid.
She certainly seemed to carry herself with a lot of style and grace during the ups and downs of her father's presidency and her parents' relationship, for that matter. But let me ask you this. We know a lot about Chelsea, obviously, not so much about the groom. Who is Mark Mizvinsky, and what is their relationship like?
Well, he's a Goldman Sachs banker, and they've dated for a long time. They were together, they met in Washington, but they were together at Stanford University. He's Jewish, she's Methodist. His family's had some ups and downs and problems in the past. His dad actually served time in prison. His dad was a congressman from Iowa, his mom a congressman from Pennsylvania. So they had a lot to talk about, and, a lot to bond them together. And they've worked out, I'm sure, all these differences. They've been together so long.
Let's talk about the wedding itself. We're hearing the budget set somewhere between $2 and $5 million, maybe as much as $6 million. What do you know about that?
I know enough from my experience in the White House to know that nobody's probably close. I suppose that the wedding planners have a budget, and those figures will leak out, and they may be somewhat finite, but the amount of money being spent surrounding this event, even the sources of all the income for this event, travel and security involved, will take a long time to pin down. I don't think anybody knows right now.
There's a no-fly zone around the entire town. Is that rather unusual, even for a president's daughter?
No, that's not unusual, and security is great for these events. Even in the 1940s, one of Franklin Roosevelt's sons was married deep on property like this, deep on a private property, and 200,000 uninvited guests showed up the day of the wedding, lining the roads. They had to call out the National Guard and bring in the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to set up kitchens for people who were fainting and getting ill. And so these can be unexpected phenomena. They are really great historical moments.
Doug, we only have a few seconds left, but do some name dropping for me, will you? Tell me who's on the guest list. We know President Obama is not.
Well, there's now supposedly confirmation, I'll like to see it, that Oprah Winfrey is coming and Steven Spielberg. Those are some pretty big names. What's tough is that as individuals, we can juggle a handful of relationships, 15 or so, but when you're a public figure and you have correspondence secretaries and the auto pen and hundreds of people who are brainstorming and writing and rewriting notes for you, you can juggle thousands of friendships up in the air. And now all of that has to come down into a funnel, and reality sets in. Who are the 400 who make the cut? And it may be a bit eye-opening for those who aren't invited as well as for those who are invited.
No matter who you are, it's always the invitation list that gets you in the end, isn't it? Thank you, Doug. Doug Wead is a presidential historian and author of All the President's Children. Thanks for speaking with us this morning.